Hello everyone, my name is Jyotsna. I'm from Sairam College of Engineering, which is in Bangalore. I'm here today to explain one of the small topic under the operating systems, which is called file system structure. Yeah, it will come under the operating system. So let us see like what is the file system structure, what are its basic functions, what are the topics under the file system structures. Now let us see one by one. Now, when it's come to this slide will tell us the what is the basic operations, what is the definition of the file system structures, what are the functions are done in the file system structures. Now, file system provides the efficient access to the disk by allowing data to be stored, located, and retrieved in convenient way. A file system must be able to store the file, locate the file, and retrieve the file. Yes. Here they're saying like there are the three basic functions in a file system structures, which is like storing the data and locating the data and retrieve the data. Like storing the data, which means we have sent any one of the input, it will store. It will store. In store means maybe in the PC or maybe in the hard disk or maybe anything, and it will locate where exactly the file we can find. And next it can use in convenient way. Yeah, by this we can see that three basic operation under the file system structure is like storing the data, locating the data, and retrieve. A file system must be able to store the file, locate the file, and retrieve the file. So as I said, these three are the main uh, basic functions of the file system structure. Now let us see what is the basic function has been done. Yeah, most of the operating system use layering approach for every task including file systems, which means if any process has to be done, it will be linked with previous process and after the process, which means the file system may act like a chain process, which means layer by layer, layer by layer, layer by layer. Yeah, every layer of the system is responsible for some activities. Yeah, each if we send any of the input for one layer, it will have some activities, some work to be done, which means every layer of the file system is responsible for some activity, maybe checking the data, maybe finding the error, maybe moving the information from one layer to another. These are the some of the activities. Now let us see what exactly the activities are. When an application program asks for a file, the request is directed to the logical file system. If any of the request or initiative has taken by the application program for asking a file, that asking or the request will send to the logical file systems, which means by this now we can know that like first layer is like application of programs and second layer is logical files. What after sending the logical files, what exactly is happening, let us see. The logical file systems contains the metadata of the file and directory structure, which means we can take an example is like it is predefined. It has some files and it has the metadata and it has directory structures, which means if we send any of the input, it will already it can already recognize what is exactly the data, what is exactly the input given. Like we can know the what exactly has the input has sent. Yeah, if the application program doesn't have the required permission for the file, this layer will throw an error. If an initiative which is taken, for example, it may be an input. Yeah, if the application program doesn't have the required permission of the file, then this layer will throw an error, which means the data we asked, the data which we have given as an input, which is not in the directory, it will show like this is error. Maybe whatever error maybe it will show an error. Hence, logical file system also verify the path of the file. Hence, we can say that logical file system act as a wall, which means it will reduce the further errors, which means the logical file systems will act as a wall. Hence the it will avoid the further with errors, it will be avoided. Let us take an example. We have the 10 process. The logical system is locating in the under the third process, so hence it avoid the error by starting only. Hence there is no need of going the further layers. Hence, the logical files also verify the path of the file. Before entering the actual process, the logical files will find the error and it will throw an error. Hence, there is no need of going further operations or further layers. Hence, the time will be manageable. Let us see the further topic in the file system structure. Yeah. File system structure has the different layers, as I said. Here we can see like application programs, logical file systems, file organization module, basic file systems, input output control, and devices. So these are the layers of file system structure. Now let us see what is exactly this is. Yeah. Generally, files are divided into various logical blocks. Files are to be stored in the hard disk and to be retrieved from the hard disk. Yeah, the files in the logical files are stored in the hard disk, and hard disk is divided into various tracks and sectors. Therefore, in order to store the retrieve the files, the logical blocks need to be mapped to physical blocks. The mapped is done in file organization module. It is also responsible for free space management. When it comes to logical file systems that are divided into further sectors and tracks, in logical blocks, they need to be mapped in physical blocks. Hence, this mapping is done by the file organization module. Hence, the physical blocks are done by file organization module, which is the further layer. It is also responsible for free space management. When any of the systems or any of the files are divided into subfiles or subtracks, hence we can find some of the free space inside the hard disk. Hence, it also maintains the free space management. Once file organization module decided which physical block the application program needs, it passes the information to the basic file systems. Here saying like layer, as I say, it is the layer by layer process. When it, as I said, file system organization is like mapping the physical blocks and maintaining the free space management. When it comes to uh, when it further the file organization module decided the which physical block of the application program needs. Hence, when, as I said, it will divide it into physical blocks. When it is like which block is the application program needs, when it decided like which block the application program needs, it passes information to the basic file systems. So then the next layer will come into act, which is known as basic file systems. The basic file system is responsible for issuing commands of input output control in order to fetch those blocks. Basic file systems are related to input and output, and hence it will responsible for issuing commands or input output control in order to fetch those blocks. IO control contains the code by using which it can access hard disk. These codes are known as device drivers, or IO controls are also responsible for handling the interrupts. IO controls excuse me, IO controls contain the codes by using which it can access the hard disk. These codes are known as devices, hence device drivers. Hence, IO control are also responsible for handling the interrupts. Now, as I said, it is a layer by layer approach. Now, let us see what is that layer. Like, we'll go into the detail and we'll get to know that layers. Okay. First is application programs. Application programs function on the top of the system software. As the system software is built from low-level programs, system software is automatically installed during the OS installation. However, users have many options to select which application program are installed on their own systems. When it comes to application programs, we can see various types of application programs in OS, which we need, we can download it, and some are like it will come into within the systems. Here saying like sort, it is a function top of the system for the software. Hence, it is built from low-level programs. System software is automatically installed during the OS installation. However, user have the option to select which program, like which of the application program they need, and they can install in the software system. Hence, we can see the diagram here like user 1, user 2, user 3, and user n. User 1 is nothing like compiler, user 2 is a text editor, and user 3 is assembler, and user n is database systems. Next, the base is like the base of the application program is like computer hardware. Next, it will come OS, operating systems, and next it will come system and application programs. The main base is like computer hardware. Then it will further divided into compiler, text editor, assembler, and database systems. Now let us see the further slide. Logical file systems. What is exactly the logical file systems? A channel like a telephone line that hides the detail of the file location and physical format of the program. When a program wants to use a particular file, which is data, the operating system must find the physical file called data and make logical name by assigning the logical file to it. As we know, when we are transferring the files, it will hide the details of the file locations and physical format of the program. It only shows the file name and the data which are inside the file. Hence it will assign some logical file to it. Hence this, like, once again I'll read: a channel that hides the details of files location and physical format of to the program. When program wants to use the particular file data, the operating system must find a physical file called data, hence make the logical name by assigning the logical file to it. Which means when an system file is uh, saving the file by the data of by the name of data, hence we should have that same data name in the operating system also. Hence, when there is a both in operating systems and as well as in a physical file with the same name, then we can give the one of the logical name to the that file, which means that is known as logical file system. Now, file organization module. As we see here, it has the information about files, the location of the files, and their logical and physical blocks. Physical blocks do not match with logical number of blocks, number from 0 to n. It also has the free space, tracks, and unlocated blocks. File organization is nothing but locating files in logical or physical blocks. Hence, like locating like from locating one file to the another in divided in subdivided vectors. Physical blocks do not match with logical number of logical blocks numbered from 0 to n, and it also has the free space and tracks unlocated blocks. Next is basic file systems. In basic file systems, we can see like five are there. When we can see the five basic basic file systems. And the system is a method of operating system used to store, organize, and manage files and directories on the storage device. Some of the common types of file system include FAT, file allocation table. An older file system used to be older version of Windows and other operating systems. In basic file system, we have 5 steps, which means first is like file allocation table, and next is new technology file systems, next is extended file system, hierarchical file systems, and apple Apple file systems. So in file allocation table, we can, like, in older file system, use it in older version of Windows and operating system. This is an older version. And new technologies like modern file system used by Windows, it supports a features such as file and folder permission, compression, and encryption. Like newer versions or updated versions are added into new technology file systems. They're nothing but permission, compression, and encryption. Next is extended file system. A file system commonly used on Linux and Unix based operating systems, like extended, which has further more updated version, or like we have further more options and it is extended, and we it has expanded and it has some more features, and it has some more features in the operating system, like we can use commonly used in Linux and Unix based operating systems. And next is hierarchical file system, a file system used by Mac OS. And the Apple file system, a new file system introduced by Apple for their Macs and iOS devices. These are like this is a system introduced by iPhones, like Apple company, for their Macs and iOS devices. Now let us see next slide. What is about the next slide? Next slide is about input output control and devices. Input output control system, IOCS, is an any of the several packages on early IBM entry level and mainframe computers that provide the low level access to record and peripheral equipment. As we know, input output control, it's nothing but we are giving an input and it's controlling an output, or it gives us an output, and it is in several packages on early IBM entry level mainframe computers that provide low level access to record on peripheral equipment. Then when it comes to device, what is exactly a device? An device is nothing but an operating system in the core set of the software on a device that keeps everything together. Operating system communicate with the device hardware. They handle everything from your keyboard and mice to the Wi-Fi radio, storage device and display. In other one, an operating system handles input and output devices. A device is nothing but a set of software, which means it keeps everything together. And operating system communicate with device hardware. They handle everything from keyboard, and also they can perform like functions like storage device and display. In other words, an operating system handles the input and output devices. And thank you. These are the few basic concepts under the file system structures in the operating systems. Thank you.